back last week, we talked about Gypsy Rose Blanchard's newfound freedom. She's the woman who was released from prison after serving time for planning her mother's death. But let's also remember that her mother put her through years of medical and psychological abuse throughout her childhood. So to help us understand what Gypsy might be going through right now, please welcome to the show trauma specialist, therapist, and author, Dr. Frank Anderson. Dr. Anderson, thank you so much for joining us again today.
What's up, Doc?
Thank you. Thank you for having me again. It's great to be here.
Absolutely.
Well, welcome back, Dr. Frank. We need you on this one. So Gypsy is a free woman now and starting her new life. What do you think of the public's reaction to this whole thing? Because it's very much split, even on this panel.
It's a very sensationalistic response. You know, people have this tendency to blow these things way out of proportion. This is a serious medical condition rooted in serious trauma. You know, this diagnosis was called Munchausen's by proxy, but the psychiatric world has changed the diagnosis to fictitious disorder imposed on another. The pediatrics world wants to even change it to medical trauma. People have a tendency to, you know, dramatize this whole thing. Another thing that I think is really important about this, the way people are so split about it, many women in our culture and society have this enormous pressure to be perfect, to love their kids, to want to be with them constantly. We have this tendency to other the outliers so that we can feel better about ourselves. And I think this is really important for us to look at ourselves and look at what we're doing also, and give us space to look at what we've done and what's been done to us.
Wow.
Let me ask you this. Gypsy suffered for years under her mother's care. Is this disorder more common than we think?
Originally, we thought it was quite rare, honestly, like 1 in 20 million. There was an original study on that. But a recent study out of Italy shows that 4 out of 700 people can suffer from this. So this is a very difficult diagnosis to even treat and to understand the root causes of it. Most of the people who impose this on their children themselves have severe trauma histories. They grow up in families of severe neglect, and they grow up in households where medical sickness was the only way to get care and love. The other thing to say about folks that do this is that they're often very savvy in the medical community.
Yeah.
They know about the terminology, they know the way to get around it. So it very much is a challenging diagnosis.
Yeah.
Well, you know, good to see you again, Doc. A lot of people obviously are talking about Gypsy Rose, but they're also talking about her husband, Ryan, who she met and married while she was behind bars. So I have to ask you, what do you think about this relationship? Is it healthy? What do you think?
Yeah, well, that's a leading question, I think, right?
We're trying to get you in trouble. Go viral. Let's go.
The thing that I will say about it that is striking for me is Gypsy Rose says that one of the best days of her life was when she entered prison. Wow. It was the first time she was ever free to have friends and relationships. So we've got to remember that this woman is a child as it comes to relationships. She's brand new at it. She doesn't know how to handle it. It's like she's in her adolescence having a relationship for the first time. Now, as for Dylan, the jury's out with him. I'm not sure why he's attracted and drawn to her. You know, we tend to be attracted to people who have similar wounding as our own. So the jury's out whether he is working out some of his own childhood trauma and trying to rescue her or not. Time will tell on this relationship.
That is interesting. Okay, so we have about a minute left, Dr. Frank. Do you think that she's going to have to come to terms with forgiving herself and even her mother?
Absolutely, and I think it's possible. This is one of my main messages here, is that oftentimes forgiveness is pushed way too prematurely. We're forcing people to do that. I say heal your trauma first, then work on forgiving somebody else. We need to be able to find our freedom within what we're holding. Then we can have compassion for somebody else, have empathy for them, see the humanity in our perpetrator. That's when we have the ability to circle back on ourselves and forgive ourselves for what we may have done also.
Wow, that's beautiful.
I need Dr. Frank on call.
I know, you're unbelievable. We appreciate you for coming back. Thank you for joining us
Dr. Frank,
today.
I'm going to kill my kid. It's okay, Jeff.
DBL Nation, to hear more from Dr. Anderson, you can buy his personal memoir about trauma and healing to be loved. That will be available on May 7th. Thank you again, Doc.